There were 9 of us in 2nd Squad. Gulf War, 1991. We'd trained together for 8 months before deployment. Reyes, Hutchins, Boone, the Callahan twins, Franklin, Pryce, and Delgado. 9 names I still say out loud sometimes, alone in my truck, just to make sure I never forget the sound of them. February 26th. Our convoy was ambushed outside a town whose name I've spent 30 years trying to forget. I remember the noise first. Before I understood what was happening, my body already knew. Then the heat. Then nothing. I woke up 2 days later in a field hospital in Saudi Arabia with burns down my left arm and a memory full of holes. When I asked about my squad, the medic wouldn't look at me. It took another officer and another day before someone finally told me the truth. All 8 of them were gone. I was the only one pulled out alive. I went to 8 funerals in 11 days once I was well enough to travel. 8 mothers, 8 fathers. Some of them looked at me like I was a miracle. Others looked at me like I was a mistake, like the wrong man had come home. For 30 years, I never asked why. Survivor's guilt has a way of making you afraid of your own questions. I built a life, a wife, 2 kids, a small hardware store in Pennsylvania. But there was always a locked room in the back of my mind I refused to open. Then, last spring, I got a letter from a woman named Colonel Diane Ashford, retired. She said she'd been part of the investigation team assigned to our ambush back in 1991 and that some records had recently been declassified. She asked if I'd be willing to meet. I almost said no. 30 years of not knowing had become its own strange kind of safety. But something in me needed to finally open that locked room. So I said yes. She told me what the declassified files revealed. Our convoy hadn't been an accident of bad luck. We'd been rerouted at the last minute due to a communications error sent directly into a position enemy forces had been tracking for 2 days. It should have been a different squad in that convoy. Ours was a last-minute substitution, and there was something else. The reason I survived wasn't luck. Not entirely. Private Boone, the youngest of us, barely 20, had pulled me behind the wreckage of our vehicle in the first 10 seconds of the attack. Witnesses from a support unit 200 yards back saw it happen. Boone dragged me to cover before going back for Hutchins. He never made it back a second time. 30 years. And I never knew that boy gave his life pulling me out of the open. I'd always assumed it was random, that the universe had simply pointed a finger and spared me for no reason at all. Turns out, a 20-year-old kid from Ohio made that choice with his own 2 hands. I didn't say anything for a long time after Colonel Ashford told me. 30 years of guilt cracked open all at once, and underneath it wasn't relief. It was something heavier. A debt I didn't know how to repay to a boy who never got the chance to grow old. I drove to Ohio 3 weeks later and found Boone's grave for the first time in 30 years. I'd never visited before. I hadn't been able to face it. I knelt there and told him everything. About my kids. About the store. About the 30 years he gave me. Without ever asking for anything in return. I found his mother too. 86 now. Still living in the same house. I told her what I'd learned. She already knew, she said. The Army had told her decades ago. She just never expected the man her son saved to come find her. We sat on her porch for 3 hours. She showed me photographs of Boone as a boy, fishing, laughing. Nothing like the soldier I barely remembered from those 8 months of training. I promised her I'd visit every year, as long as I'm able. I still don't fully understand why I was the one who got to come home. Maybe there's no clean answer to a question like that. But I know now it wasn't random, and it wasn't nothing. It was a 20-year-old kid named Boone who decided in 10 seconds that my life was worth more than his own safety. I carry his name now, out loud, every single day. Not as a burden anymore, as a promise. If you've ever wondered why you were the one who made it through something others didn't, maybe the answer isn't for you to find alone. Maybe it's waiting for you to finally ask. This has been Marcus's story. If it moved you, share it with someone carrying a question they've never asked.